Welcome back to the Four Bells and workout from home number 115. Today, at the end of week 1 of our current arms and abs cycle, we've got ourselves another glorious day where we focus on upper body hypertrophy as well as abdominal engagement and recruitment and strengthening and all that fun stuff. So to start us off today, to get us ready for our strength work today, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to start off with a shoulder dislocate. Can we move our shoulder through a full range of motion? We do a ton of shoulder dislocates here at the gym, and the reason being is we want to make sure that you can move your shoulder through a full range of motion. The question you have to ask yourself in these modern times is, how often do you move your shoulder? Not that often, really, if you think about it. From there, with our shoulder dislocates, we're going to do 10 reps. From there, into one of the 5 rights of Tibetan yoga, we're going to do the tabletop, which puts us into shoulder extension, which we're going to need for dips today. We're going to do 10 reps of that. And then from there, we're going to get to some cheeky little bit of abdominal work in the form of hollow holds. We're going to do a hollow hold for 30 seconds today, and it should be a reasonably manageable hollow hold. It should not be a earth-shattering, vibrating, this is terrible hollow hold. It's a warm-up, after all, not the workout. So we're going to start off with these 3 things 3 times. Let's take a look at it. For shoulder dislocates, you can use whatever you like today. I find more and more that I prefer a band. It's a little bit more forgiving, particularly if you've got tight shoulders on any given day. Whether you are using a band, a belt, a PVC pipe, a broomstick, doesn't matter. All we're going to do is take our hands out to the end of that thing, pass it over, touch the low back or the bum, and come back to that start position. Across the 10 reps and across our 3 rounds. If you can, see if you can move the hands a little bit closer together and make things a little bit more challenging for yourself. So 10 reps of a shoulder dislocate. For the tabletop, we start in this L-sit position, legs nice and straight, hands by the hips, and you can have the fingers pointing forwards, to the side, pointing back. Find the one that maybe is easy if you find you've got tight shoulders, but also the one that's challenging, and play around with those different hand positions. So either way, I'm going to press into the floor, bum comes off the floor, hips come up to the ceiling, we open the shoulder, open the hips, we come back through the hands, and then push those hips back up to the ceiling again. So we are going to do 10 reps of a tabletop. For the hollow hold, we start by pressing the low back into the floor. I reach forward with the hands. I'm going to bring the knees up to the ceiling, making sure that low back stays in contact with the floor the whole time. So this is level 1. Level 2 is one leg straight. 2.5 is the other leg. Level 3 is both legs straight. I'm still pressing the low back down. And level 4 is both arms overhead. So whichever level you find very manageable, do that for 30 seconds. With the strength piece today, we have 4 sets. Each set is 4 minutes and 30 seconds long, split into 3 of these 90-second windows of time. So as you can see, there's a different focus on lots of different tempos, so it may seem confusing when you're looking at all these different numbers and what they mean, but of course, we're going to go over how to do them all, so don't worry, there's going to be a beautiful visual representation of all of these. But what is the commonality between all 3? And the answer is, we're going to be doing them for 45 seconds of work, and then we're going to rest for 45 seconds before we come into the next exercise. So with our ring rows or TRX rows, which is our first exercise today, we're going to use them at a 2-1-X-3 tempo. And of course, we're going to go over how to do that in a second. With a ring row or TRX row, of course, the goal is to always inch the feet forwards a little bit or lengthen the straps a little bit. Basically, put yourself in a less advantageous leverage position and make your rows harder. From there, with our bench dips today, we're going to be working at a 2-2-X-1 tempo. Of course, we're going to go over how to do that. But with dips, it's always about trying to make them harder. So maybe you start with your feet close to your body, you're going to move the feet out, elevate them. We'll go over how to do those as well. And last but not least, the ab pull-in. We're going to use a band for our ab pull-ins today. We're going to be doing those at a 2-1-X-2 tempo. So let's take a look at all 3 of these and how they should go down today. So our tempo for rows is 2-1-X-3. But because we're pulling ourselves up first, that means we're concentric first. So that means we really read it X3-2-1, which means it looks like this. Very confusing, but it's pretty straightforward. I pull myself up. Oh, that's pretty easy. Let me move my feet forward a bit. I'm going to pull myself up, and then it's 1, 2, 3. Slow return. So that's 2 seconds. I pull up. 1, 2, 3, and it's 1, 2 on the way down. So what I'm trying to do across this 45 seconds and across the sets that I perform is how close can I get my feet to the wall, how long can I make the straps, and try and make each set more challenging. So with the bench dips, It's 2-2-X1. So we're eccentric, we're lowering first, so we read it in the order in which it is. So that means I'm going to get set up into my dip. Let's say I've got straight legs. I take 2 seconds to go down. 1, 2. I then pause for 2 seconds. 1, 2. Explode up. So it's 1, 2 down. 1, 2 pause, and then push back up. So of course, if that is easy with the feet on the floor, try and find a way to elevate the feet. And if you're feeling very dangereux, find a way to put weights on your laps. So with the banded ab pulling, we need to find a way to attach a band approximately kind of shin height-ish. At the gym, obviously we got a lot of posts. We're going to use these posts right now, but you could also tie a knot in a band, close a door on it, put it around something at your home, maybe a banister, something that isn't going to pull everything over on top of you and kill you. So bookshelves, unless they're attached, are not a good idea. So I take my band, I would tie a knot in it, or I loop it through. From here, what we're going to do is move back. It's a little bit of a setup. It's not too difficult. What I'm going to do is take my heels, heel in, toes out. Heel in, toes out. From there, all I'm going to do is, if we see on the tempo, is 2-1-X2, which means we're concentric first, which means we're going to read it X2, which means we pull the knees in, 1, 2, and then it's 1, 2 on the way out. Pull it in, hold, 1, 2, and then 1, 2 on the way out. We're almost looking for that hollow body position. So I'm pressing the low back into the floor as I'm trying to drive the knees up as close to my face as possible. For our conditioning piece, we have 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 minute stations that we are going to perform for 4 rounds today. So that is a 12-minute conditioning piece. With each of our minutes, we're going to be doing 40 seconds of work and then 20 seconds to either rest or transition and get ready for the next exercise. So our first exercise today, as we've got 4 rounds, we're going to alternate back and forth. So that means first round we're going to do bear crawls for 40 seconds, and then the following round we're going to do crab walks for 40 seconds, and we're just going to alternate back and forth across those 4 rounds. So you'll do bear crawls and crab walks twice. From there into our second minute, we are going to do, depending on what you have available to you, maybe it's going to be an ab wheel rollout. If you don't have an ab wheel rollout, we're going to do a plank walkout, which has a similar vibe in terms of anti-extension. This is extension. I'm trying to make sure that doesn't happen to me. Last but not least, we are going to take a little ab exercise from yoga. Thanks, yoga. Yoink. We are going to do an isometric boat hold. And those are the 3 things we are going to be doing throughout our conditioning piece today, 4 times. So let's take a look at them. So for both the bear walk and the crab walk, or the crawl and walk, whatever you want to call them, we're moving contralaterally, which means opposite hand, opposite foot, move at the same time. That's fine, you do it when you're walking anyway, so it's not that complicated. When it comes to the bear crawl, depending on space, obviously at the gym here I've got tons of space. Life is good. You might find that at home you're in a very small space. So maybe you find there's just a couple of steps forwards. So with the bear crawl, we always talk about having a high bear crawl, so that means bum up, legs pretty straight, or a low bear crawl, knees closer to the ground. Whichever we choose, maybe it's just a few steps forwards and then stop, and it's a few steps backwards. Maybe you've got a huge long basement, and you can make a huge distance while we're doing those 40 seconds. Of course, from there, same is true when it comes to the crab walk. With the crab walk, I'm going to be moving opposite hand, opposite leg, hips are going to be up, and whether I'm moving backwards or whether I'm moving forwards, I'm just trying to keep the hips as high as possible. So we've got choices. Is it plank walkout or is it ab wheel rollout? If it's a plank walkout, I'm going to be in a plank. And all I'm going to do here is keeping the abs as tight as possible. So I'm going to brace the abs, and then I'm going to walk out as far as possible into that Superman hold, and then do little steps back in. And that's all we're going to do for the 40 seconds, is just walk out as far as I can, and then walk it back in. Of course, if you have an ab wheel, feel free to use it. We're going to do the same position with the abs, which means a slight rounding of the low back. So think hollow body. From here, the sequence is hips forwards first. So it's only when the hips are open do I then extend the arms out. Arms come back in, and hips come back in. So it's hips, arms, arms, hips, and that is our ab wheel rollout. Pick the one you like most. So the boat hold is like the middle portion of a tuck V-up. So that means we're going to be bouncing on our bum. If we can, we're going to pull those knees in towards the chest. I'm going to try and keep my shins reasonably parallel to the floor, and from here I'm just going to reach forward with the hands. So that's all I'm going to do. Pull those knees in a little bit, engage the hip flexors, brace the abs. We're just going to hang out here for 40 seconds, bouncing on your bum, not with your low back touching the floor. So that's our conditioning piece today. We've got 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest. Bear crawl and crab walk, we alternate across the 4 rounds. From there, it's either a plank walkout or an ab wheel rollout, and last but not least is the boat hold. So have yourself a glorious workout from home 115, and let us know how you got on.